Today we start with Chapter 9, entitled Courthouse Days, spelled D-A-Z-E. In the fall of '48, the snow came early, loads of it, in October. Max and Earl, who'd both been working for DIMP, came down Grizzly Gulch from road building at the Hunky Dory mine. Next day we all headed up to Arapahoe. Having worked the year before, Earl at the Midway lift and Max on the top of Norway Mountain, they expected they'd be running the lifts again. But lo and behold, there were no jobs. The Arapahoe Basin Corporation had hired an entire new crew from Georgetown. It was a shock to all of us. "Come on, let's go skiing," Max said to me. "If I'm out of a job, I'll just ski." I felt depressed and worried, but followed him up in the single chairlift which he and Earl had helped to build 2 summers before. It was a beautiful day with perfect powder snow. Maybe it'll all work out, I hoped. Soon we found ourselves laughing and forgetting everything but the aliveness of floating down through the fantastic snow. We had stopped to rest in the bowl of the Davis Trail when a tall blond man skied up to us. We had watched him earlier, and I had remarked to Max that this fellow must be a racer. He skied the steepest trails so easily and yet faster than anyone I'd ever seen. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Willie Schaeffler." He took off his glove and we all shook hands. "I've just been hired to run the ski school here. I watched you skiing, Max, and wondered if you would like to teach for me. I heard from someone that you have passed the ski instructor certification." Willie explained that since he had already accepted the position as ski coach of the Denver University ski team, he really needed someone capable of teaching for him up here at Arapahoe. "And," he promised, "you'll be my head instructor. If possible in the future, maybe a co-director." "What luck, Max," I said. "After all, you really weren't cut out for sitting in that wind and snow-blasted shack on the top of Norway Mountain all winter." Our early fall skiing was off to a good start. Now everyone was talking about the upcoming election. I had voted back in Pennsylvania in 1936 and 1940. I decided I'd better register so I could vote in Colorado and in Summit County. Someone at the courthouse asked me what I was, a Democrat or a Republican. I was puzzled and answered, "I don't know what I should be. Up there here in the mountains, we read the Summit County Journal, but the news is all local news. I don't know what's going on out there in the outside world." Realizing I wasn't a very good citizen, I tagged along one day with Oma and Opa over to Breckenridge, where they registered as Republicans. I felt I'd like to be an independent, so I put down no affiliation. Opa said, "You should be something, Edna. Otherwise, you'll be a mugwump." "What on earth is a mugwump?" I asked. "It's a bird," Opa laughingly informed me, "who sits on the political fence with his mug on the one side and his wump or tail on the other." Even so, I thought, I'll wait a while and see which side of the fence to choose. I was aware that Opa had agreed to run for the office of county clerk and recorder. I had promised him I would be his deputy until the next spring, if he won, when he was sure he could find someone to take my place. With the 2 children at home and Rolf just starting first grade, we felt that 3 months would be all I should work. Since I could type, it would be a help as the office had no photostat or copy system. We really felt Opa needed the job. He had spent everything on the house and helping us with building our basement, the well, and the squared timber wing at Ski Tip. Winning the election became important to the whole family. It looked as if we'd all be scratching for some kind of income. None of us realized that both Oma and Opa, being over 65, could have drawn old age pensions, and Opa Social Security. Both payments were well over what he'd make as county clerk. This is one case where ignorance was not being bliss. Opa and I would get into his little Ford and go campaigning down the Blue River, that is, up to Breckenridge and over to the mining towns of Montezuma and Kokomo. Sometimes we took turns to go electioneering. One day I drove up to the door of a low log ranch house. The door stood open and a voice called out, "Come on in. Don't mind the chickens. Shoo 'em aside and they'll get out of your way." The friendly, stout woman pulled out a chair at a round oak table and invited me to sit down. Most of the table was heaped with papers and dishes, except for one side where she was stirring batter in a big crockery mixing bowl. "I'm baking up a batch of cookies," she said. "Here, have some, fresh out of my oven." Happily, I took a couple of the delicious crisp cookies and then two more. While I was munching on the cookies, she kept up a stream of talk. The ash bin of the big cook stove was full to the brim. It was pulled out to leave more room under the firebox for ashes to fall directly onto the dirt floor below. In the middle of the room was a barber stool with a red plush cover. It had a foot pedal so it could be pumped up. Evidently, this enabled a person to be closer to the one light bulb hanging overhead from a long cord. "That's my brother's chair," I was told. "He likes to sit there and read the newspaper." As I explained my election campaign, the chickens scurried in and out of the room, pecking at crumbs. The woman broke eggs into the batter. One egg rolled off the table onto the dirt floor. Without stopping her chatter, she tore off a piece of the egg carton, scooped up the egg from the floor, and dropped it into the batter. "Here, have another cookie," she said. I declined, thanked her, saying I really must get on my way. "You'll sure have my vote," she screamed after me. "Come by any time. I'll put on the coffee pot and we'll have some more cookies." At the end of a long Sunday of campaigning, Opa and I were greeted by a sun-bronzed rancher. "Running for county clerk and you want my vote, Mr. Dercum? Guess you know you're not very well known around here." Then his eyes crinkled as he smiled. "But on the other hand, maybe your opponent is too well known." I guess that's how we won the election, and by a comfortable margin.